What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in to yet another episode here of Walking Manifestator. I'm your host, Alexa Peña, and in this space, we talk about all the things that we have forgotten as we've been growing up by stories that we've been told, society labels, and whatnot. We're going to talk about something that is going to really open a can of worms, but I think it's a very important conversation to have. And I wanted to start off by telling you a quick story. So I was scrolling through Facebook and I came across this really sad post. Okay, the post was basically this guy stabbed his girlfriend to death right before her birthday. And these things, I've gotten better about processing them because of what I've shared with you guys in the past about soul contracts and my understanding and how I choose to understand these negative things that happen in life. And if you haven't watched our last video on soul contracts, I highly recommend you do. But the reason I'm saying this is because if you understand a soul contract and you fully believe in a soul contract, the bad stuff makes more sense. Because without it, it would just be craziness. And I want to believe that in this soul contract that this person had, there was a lesson that they had to learn. And I want to believe that there is a lesson that we all can learn. And if you really think about it, why do we get mad? We get mad because our amygdala fires off and our prefrontal cortex completely just like shuts down, which is the logical side of our brain. And now this like survival mode monkey primal instinct is out, ready to protect you. But in reality, it throws all logic and reasoning out the door. So it's like, I'm trying to take care of you, and it's like I'm telling you, hey, I want to keep you warm, but I'm giving you a cold blanket because I have no reason to actually make sense of this, right? Like my amygdala is firing off, my logical part of my brain is not checked in right now. Therefore, what I'm trying to suggest makes no sense. That is exactly what happens when we get mad. In that we get upset about something that somebody said to us, our amygdala is going off, therefore our logical side went out the door. Now we react to what that person said to us. And then it turns out at the end that the actual event didn't stir up the pot, but in reality, it was our reaction to the event that stirred up and made everything worse. Has that ever happened to you? Where somebody said something to you and you got upset at them and you maybe cussed them out or stopped talking to them or got back at them, all to find out that the way that you reacted made things worse. And now you're looking back and saying, why didn't I let it go? You see, this is a very dangerous game if we don't know how to control it. They say that self-mastery is the hardest thing to do. However, when we are able to self-master thyself, that is one of the most important steps in actually living a fulfilling life. Because I can give you everything today, or you can give me everything today. I can be a little genie right now, come into your life, give you everything you've ever asked for. And in 1 second, can go out and take the wrong decision because of you being upset, because of you not taking a moment to process, because of you not taking a moment to react. And now you're going to jail and just lost everything that you had the opportunity to receive. I think this is why I wanted to have this conversation today in the podcast, because for those of you that have been following along, yes, I love talking about positivity. I love talking about encouragement, and I love talking about things that we can do to better ourselves and focusing on the positive. I've said to you guys, I don't like watching the news because what you focus on is what you attract more of. And we've gotten into some extensive conversations about this because what is meant to be known and the things that you can actually do a difference for. An example, right? A lot of people sometimes will argue and say, oh, you're not, how do you not watch the news? How do you know what's going on in the world? Trust me, if it is something important enough, you are going to find out. All the other stuff is just ruckus to keep you distracted and to keep you in a low vibration. However, when I was going through that, when I was scrolling through my account and I saw that post, I also believe that there's some moments that are necessary for us to talk about and share as a community so that we can learn and be better and not keep doing the same thing over and over again. There's just so many things that happen nowadays, and honestly, I know it can be frustrating, but we can't control everybody else, but we can control ourselves. And this is where we shift the narrative, because what anybody else could do in a time like this is that we stay in a victim mentality. We stay in a victim mentality and we go further and further into this mindset of, this is why the world is falling apart. This is why nobody can get along. This is why whatever, fill in the blank. And then you put in your little dose of negativeness into that phrase. But in reality, if we can actually see this as an opportunity for us to discuss how we can be more actively aware of how we're reacting in these situations. You see, when we are in this like fight or flight mode, when our amygdala has fired off and that, logical side of our prefrontal cortex is gone, we have the power of breathing. And this is where it takes that self-mastery to take a moment to pause, take a moment to really process what just happened. And literally, if you can just hold your breath to the top of your lungs, 30 to 60 seconds, I promise you, by the time that you let go of that breath, you are going to feel that your nervous system has dramatically calmed down. This is actual science behind how our parasympathetic and our nervous system works. And if you really understand how these things connect with how we're responding all the time, we can make better decisions. And I think this is when we talk about these things and when we really process and we understand all we're really trying to do. And the only reason why as a society we are here, it's to grow, it's to evolve. And if you think something different, I completely, respect your opinion. This is my perspective. I just believe that if we're in this world to learn from one another, we should be able to talk about these things for us to be able to strategize and incorporate these things that can help us be better. A lot of the times I hear people when it comes to, talking positively, the reality is that we have the decision, we have the choice, and we have the ability to react to however it is that we choose to react. And if we really want to change the narrative, we really want to change the way that we respond to life, we need to make better decisions. And the reason I wanted to start off with that story, as sad as it is, I thought of two scenarios. The first scenario was how sad this girl's family just lost her daughter. And I also felt bad for the person that did it, because in a moment, he changed the trajectory of his life forever. In a moment, the person that he at one point loved became a person that he hated. And in a moment, he made a decision that changed everything. No matter how hard you work, in a moment, everything can be taken from you. And the only way you can actually guarantee that that won't happen is by learning how to control yourself, learning how to take a moment to breathe, taking a moment to process, taking a moment to understand where that other person is coming from. We all have a story. We all have things we're going through. And if we could just take a moment to tap into that empathy, it could go a long way. So some of the things that you can start incorporating, number one, is going to be take a moment to pause. Take 30 seconds, make sure that now that you understand how your amygdala actually works, that you take a moment to say, okay, that's that little crazy fireball over there. I'm gonna take a second. And it helps for me, at least when I give it like a meaning, because you have to create like an anchor. So what we do is this little fiery pineal gland, right, that I'm imagining in my head. So I'm picturing like a little fiery ball. I picture it and it's like I'm talking to it and saying, oh, you're upset. You're upset about something that's triggering you right now. And now I'm having a conversation with it. And I know in this example, it might sound like I'm having this elaborate conversation, but it's literally within like 20 seconds. All of this is happening super fast, because in that moment, somebody upset you, you see them, you look at them, you catch yourself because you already understand how the science works. Now you're going into your step 2, which is going to be processing the breathing work. And the next step is really, and this is like for me, what really helps me every single time, is to understand that story that we all have. Honestly, we all have something going on. And if we just found that place in our heart to find that compassion to say, you know what, I understand that that person said something that's very upsetting, but instead of allowing me to go down with their energy and let them take my happiness away, I'm gonna let them stay there in that energy that they're in that low vibe that I am not interested in partaking in, and I will respond to them accordingly later. It's happened to me where I talk to certain people, and especially like in the real estate field, and sometimes agents will get very heated and they're very vocal and they start talking very loudly, and some of them have actually screamed. And now something that I've actually done is I'll stay quiet. I'll literally stay quiet, and then they'll be like, hello, are you still there? I'm like, oh yeah, I was just waiting for you to finish. I'm not gonna be yelling and I'm not gonna be going back and forth, so I'm letting you finish. And I say it in a way where it's not like I'm being very bubbly and positive, but I'm also giving them a bridge to see that they're being very far left in this argument, and the way that they're arguing, they're maybe coming out of line. And it's giving them the moment to realize I'm yelling at another person that I'm supposed to be having, I don't know, a conversation with to make a deal work, right? I'm yelling at another person that is trying to give me my ice cream right now because she didn't put the cherry on the top. I am upset at this driver in front of me because they slammed their brakes without giving me a warning and coming down, getting off their car to come and tell me they were going to hit the brakes, and they hit the brakes, but considering maybe their kid was in the car and they dropped something, so they slammed the brakes. You see, the reality is that we are the ones that give life meaning. Literally. If I were to tell you right now, if it rains on your wedding, okay, it's an example, or it rains on a soccer game, or it rains in a football game, fill in the blank, okay? And I tell you that based off your paradigm, which we've talked about before, your paradigm is a series of events that have almost exclusive control over your habitual behavior. So things that have created who you are, right? Things that have shaped you to be who you are and respond to how you respond. So if I were to say this, and in this situation, I tell you, okay, we're gonna go ahead and use this example of the wedding. In this reality in which you were raised with a family that told you rain symbolizes abundance because it means that the harvest is gonna grow, and it means that the crops are getting water and all of it is jolly. And water in that family might symbolically mean abundance and happiness and love. Meanwhile, in another family, they might associate raining with sadness and washing love away. And it's not a good idea to get married. So in these two stories, what's happening is exactly the same. It's raining. Like literally, God, universe, source it's just raining. It's just being. But here we come with our little primal mind and we say rain symbolizes, and then we give it the symbolic meaning. This is why NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, is so real, because we are linguistically programming everything that we are coming into contact with. We are finding like cheat codes to store, oh, I know that if I see a fork, that is for a spaghetti versus soup. We created a cheat code to make us symbolically understand that. So when we are in this headspace of this person got me upset and I want to react, what I want to encourage you to think about is that literally our reactions are what's going to shape that actual event. It's not going to be the event that actually plays a huge impact. It's going to be ourselves and how we respond. The water is just being rain. That's all. Are we going to decide it's good, or are we going to decide it's bad? This 2025, I want to encourage you to choose different choices that have maybe held you back in the past. Whatever it is that you are looking to achieve this year, rest assured you can do it. But it all comes down to you. It comes down to putting in the reps. It comes down to showing up when you don't want to go. It comes down to doing the work that we don't want to do. You see, every beginning of the year, we see all these people at the gym. We always see them. They go in for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. And week 2, everything changes. We need to learn how to master ourselves to really be able to tap into all these extraordinary gifts that we have. And this is why I wanted to talk about it in this positive space. Because if I can learn something from a negative situation, we could potentially change that for it not to repeat itself in another situation. With that being said, guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. I know that whatever it is that you have planned for this year, if it is in alignment with your truest and highest self, you commit to it and you show up. I promise you, by the end of this year, you are going to be a completely different person than the person that is right now listening to this audio. I want to thank you so much for tuning in to yet another episode here of Walking Manifestator. As always, I want to encourage you guys to tune in to our community. We do have a free community that we have for every single one of you guys that is looking to really tap into learning more about personal development, manifesting, and actually looking to create the life that you are searching for. If this is something you're interested in, the group is completely free. We have a ton of free masterminds that we have going on there. We have a bunch of free workbooks that we created for you guys. Everything to really help you embody the best version of yourself. So with that, thank you so much for being here, and I will talk to you guys on the next one.